What's up, guys? We are continuing our coverage of EMO Live 2023. Ian Sandusky from Lakewood Machine back here again for Practical Machinists. And I am joined by Larry, who is the head of SMW Auto Block USA at the SMW Auto Block booth. Larry, thank you very much for joining us today.
And good to see you guys again. Always a pleasure.
Now, what do we have going on with SMW today?
There's a lot going on, but I'll show you the highlights of what we're doing here at the show. One of the biggest things that we're introducing at the show now is our electric grippers. The biggest advantage we have in the industry right now is every other gripper requires either a wire to connect it or some kind of constraint. With this, bad example because we have a wire, but with these we have the ability to use wireless coupling technology, and this is kind of a bad thing going back and forth, but we have wireless coupling technology that can be coupled with this to power this unit remotely, which means I can now get 360 degrees of rotation with this unit without any wires impeding my movement. The biggest advantage we have with our units is we have programmable movement, I have measurable grip force, and at the same time I can control my speed. None of our competition can do that at this point. We have the most popular sizes from a small to a medium to a large, all the way up to our giant system that'll give you 9,000 pounds of grip force and 900 pounds of friction force.
This is the size of a vise.
Actually, oddly enough, Ian, this started its life as our SLX vise. The vise you see over here was the model for this base unit.
So you know it already works.
Yes, we knew it already worked, but we had to take weight out of it. So where that's steel and ground steel surfaces, this is aluminum with ground steel surfaces.
Now, what kind of industries do you see putting a system like this on the floor? Who's really benefiting from this?
You know, it can be clean room technology because there's no oil, there's no lubrication, there's nothing to drip in and out, there's no air going in, so there's no lubricator in the airline. The other beauty of this is it can be in any situation where you have parts that need to be moved or rotated more than 270 degree rotation, because if you look at anything that's constrained by either a pneumatic line or a wire, you're limited because either you're going to stretch and break or acceleration, deceleration, break clips. This doesn't use those clips, so you have a kind of a foolproof technology.
There's no gaskets to blow. There's no seals you have to check.
No, there's nothing that can go wrong in this shy of mechanical failure, which is with anything that's mechanical can happen.
And with this kind of pick and place that we're seeing right here in this demo, is that something you see a lot of people doing with this?
You know, it could be used for this, it could be used for machine tending, it could be used for just about anything. So whether you have a small load and go system, or you need to tend to a lathe or a mill, we have an application or a solution for every application that you have.
Now, moving over this way a little bit, I saw what looked like a 4-jaw chuck, but it had some stuff in there that I have not seen before.
You know, it's the introduction of an electric chuck. And most people laugh because our industry started out designing electric cylinders. And electric cylinders were great until people found out they were probably 10 times more than a standard cylinder. So over the years, we developed a new technology where we have the wireless transmission of power. So you have a base unit and a receiving unit that transfers the power to the chuck that allows you now to control each axis independently. So I have 4 independent NC axes now. So if I'm making parts that are castings or forgings, and I have a variation from part to part, I can now take what would have started out as a bad part and make it into a good part, or not make scrap. The other thing that we offer on this, that you might notice there's lights on the face of the chuck.
I was going to say.
We're not starting a disco, but this is technology that we allow you to use, and I'll take you to the next one where it's a little easier to show you. Electronic locators. Bigger version, same idea, 4-jaw chuck locators, and basically what it allows you to do now is a few things. Generally in our industry, you only had the ability with air or oil to operate an OP20 part sensing location because of surface condition. With this technology, I have an adjustable tolerance band, so I can now locate OP10 and OP20, and it's very sensitive. As you can see, I can make it fail, and then I can adjust it and rotate back to my intolerance spec. That's how sensitive this technology is. At the same time, it's extremely tough, it's extremely robust, and it'll give you the same performance as a hydraulic chuck without the hydraulic fluid and without the problems of mechanical movement.
Because this is not a Mickey Mouse unit. You know, it's nice to say, oh, it's sensitive, oh, it's whatever. But if you only get 30 pounds of clamping force out of it, that'd be one thing. This you can perform just as well, if not better, than a hydraulic chuck.
Right, and it's more predictable because with this, I have no more need for a high-low cylinder, which was specialized, and a control unit that was specialized. Now, it's all either from a tablet, directly from your CNC control, and the beauty is, not only can I transmit power wirelessly, simultaneously I can transmit data, which is what makes this system the best. What it allows us to do now is give a customer a predictable outcome and know that at the last part they were at 400 kilonewtons of grip force, at jaw position 4 was at 273 degrees, and I know this was I could predict position and repeatability over and over again. So,
as a guy who just had a hydraulic manifold blow on my lathe and had to shut it down, I kind of wish I had one of these electric chucks right now.
a little more expensive, but well worth the money, well worth the investment.
And what kind of, just to touch on this real quickly, what kind of industries are you seeing putting these on the floor? Because this is specialized, but I do see a lot of applications for it that it might be getting put into.
Medical, automotive, aerospace. Anybody that does castings and forgings, foundries, it's kind of limitless. Anybody that would use a hydraulic chuck that had a more specialized application would look at this, because I can take standard jaws and accommodate odd-shaped parts.
Right. Now moving over here, this is when we're talking about wireless sensing. Is this transmission or is this sensing that we're looking at here?
It's both. This actually has the ability to transmit power at a lower, of course, much lower voltage. We start at, our largest units can go up to 1.5 kilowatts, all the way down to 24 volts. So these sensors basically allow you to monitor in process. So now if I want to know grip force, jaw location, these are the sensors that would do it. If I had a part coming down an assembly line and I wanted to make sure it was the right part on the right fixture, I could have a receiving unit here, a transmitting unit here, stop, probe, go, this is the right part, send it out, or this is not the right part, back it off. We can take this technology down many paths all the way to transmitting video live.
Oh, wow.
Over the internet, which is right behind. So we have the ability through wireless technology now to power a camera and get live video from us standing right here, just from this technology powering this camera and that monitor.
And just, I could be wrong, but this technology we're seeing right here on display, this is the same thing that's in that chuck. That actually looks like that same unit.
Actually, exactly the same.
And on the back of that giant chuck, we probably have something similar.
Absolutely, it's exactly the same thing. Just smaller or larger depending on the components.
And if you can see here, guys, you can actually see clean through that. There's no wires, there's nothing touching. And then lastly, I just want to look at this because, of course, I love giant chucks. What are we looking at here?
This is kind of where it all started. This was the great-grandfather of all this technology. This was our original, what we called our MME motion chuck. This was our first self-contained chuck that allowed you to electrically power work holding. It was not wireless at that point. It can be now, but at that point it was wired through your machine.
You can see all the wires bleeding off here, snaking through the chuck.
And with this, now we can actually use our wireless transmission and power units and power this chuck also. We can also power tombstones, vices, mandrels, anything you could really think of that requires hydraulic or pneumatic pressure now, we can do with a vice or a chuck or a tombstone, anything you want to. So it's kind of wild technology to see it. It's exciting. I've said to somebody once, I wish I was 20 years younger so I could see this, and I'm glad I'm not 20 years younger so I don't have to see this.
And if people want to find out more about SMW Autoblock, where can they go?
Easiest way is our website, www.smwautoblock.com. Block is without a C.
And of course, they can come see you here at EMO all week.
Always.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Pleasure, brother. Always good to see you.